She came from the end of being abandoned by the world. Got an end-of-day trading system, can only trade with end-of-day trading. This article is the story of the Apocalyptic Heavenly Master struggling to earn merit and money in modern times. Good people and good things have her. Good people, bad things, and her. Keywords of the novel. The plain trading system of the Apocalypse Master has no pop-ups. Download the complete TXT collection of the plain trading system of the Apocalypse Master, and read the latest chapters of the plain trading system of the Apocalypse Master. Chapter 1. The Funeral of the Apocalypse. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 1. The Funeral of the Apocalypse. In the year 2880 of the Apocalypse, which is already the 10th year of entering the Apocalypse, humanity suffered from the bloody baptism of zombies, and after the survival of the fittest, nearly 1/5 of the weak were eliminated. The country is not the country, and the home is not the home. The earth-shattering that humans often talk about has become a reality. Perhaps because zombies are mutated from humans, they retain the basic human habit of resting at sunset. Day and night rise and fall, while day and night grow longer, which means that the duration of zombie activity is getting longer and longer. Escape, night is the best time. Even when it comes to common survival and death, humans still cannot conceal their inherent flaws, engage in conflicts, seize food, and fight to the death. The advent of the apocalypse is not only a revolutionary change in natural laws, but also a mutation in the land and plants planted, which no longer provides the most basic living conditions for humanity. The pollution of land directly leads to a significant reduction in the probability of survival. Without food, survival has become a major challenge. However, there is no way to cut off the path of humanity, and in the end, there is still the virtue of good life in heaven. Human awakening abilities, such as gold, wood, water, fire, earth, space, lightning, and spiritual abilities, have begun to emerge, all of which are derived from human mutations. So, when the food in the old era ran out, the spatial and wooden supernatural beings took out vegetables, fruits, and grains. They were incorporated into the new political system, returned to their homeland, opened a new chapter, and emphasized the path of human survival. Mom, I've awakened my powers. It's a wooden one, take a look. Wow. I'm so happy. The 17-year-old girl held up a sprouting bean in her palm, excitedly jumping around with her ragged mother. The refugees around her were all admiring them, with bitterness, numbness, jealousy, and even malice on her face. The unfairness of being innocent. Why wasn't it me who awakened? Yeah, why isn't it us? We are already eliminated. How could we still awaken? That child is just an isolated case. I just want to live well. Why is it so difficult? If I could eat enough before I die, I would die without regrets. Noisy voices kept coming from my ears, complaining about heaven and earth, the world, and the power of evidence. Yuan Zhuan was holding a thin twig he had found somewhere, rolling his eyes in the corner of the factory building. What's the use of complaining? Thief God can't even hear it. That bastard is watching the miserable situation below from above. I don't know how happy he is. Yuan Zhuan is not an extraordinary person, nor can she be considered an ordinary person. She is a celestial teacher, and her strengths include watching feng shui, catching ghosts, and warding off evil spirits. Some people say, how did the celestial master sneak into the refugee camp? Heavenly Master, what a towering profession of a godly stick, earn more money. However, the fact is that in the apocalypse, for humans who don't even have a fixed abode, who still looks at feng shui. What really needs her life is, damn it, these zombies are dead, they're not humans anymore, but where have their souls gone? When humans die, their souls cannot be separated, and the gates of the underworld cannot be opened. Various yin and yang judges also disappear, just like in this world, there has never been any yin and yang affairs. Catch a ghost with fur. Her last chance of survival is gone. The only things she inherited that can be used in the apocalypse are talismans and formations. Compared to the hassle and duration of arranging formations, seal script is simpler and more convenient. However, except for thunderstorm and thunderbolt runes, all other talismans and seals cannot be applied to the living environment of the end of the world. Moreover, these two types of talismans and seals require spiritual support. They belong to the Xian Yuan clan, and cultivating spiritual energy does not necessarily need to be taken from heaven and earth. Anger and evil energy can also be refined into spiritual energy, but damn it, in this dying apocalypse, apart from a tiny bit of spiritual energy, there is no resentment or evil energy. She draws a seal script and needs to practice for a month before she can go out and wander. So why does she still need to practice? Yuan Zhuan believed that without family and friends, even without meeting the basic living environment of humans, what is the significance of living in a way that is neither human nor ghost? Practicing is even more meaningless. She once tried to open the gates of hell, ask the king of hell about the situation, and see if she could use the blessings of her ancestors to work in the underworld and live a relaxed and leisurely life. As a result, all spiritual power was exhausted, and the gates of hell were not even exposed. The gods and Buddhas who used to bless the world cannot be found at all. From this, it can be basically concluded that this is a world forgotten by countless gods and Buddhas, abandoned by the underworld. Therefore, there is no need for feng shui here. Humans have no soul, no resentment, and no evil energy. What's the point of her living like this? After experiencing the comparison between life and death, Yuan Zhuan ultimately decided to find a place to rest. If anything were to happen, one day there would be a mutated zombie or something like that. With her combat power, she would probably be filling her teeth in minutes. Thinking about the scene of his intestines falling to the ground, Yuan Zhuan covered his mouth and decided to self-destruct. At the very least, there would be a complete corpse. Yuan Zhuan finished eating the last pack of compressed biscuits, her dry throat burning with pain, but there was nothing she could do. Who left her with no spiritual power to draw the water-gathering talisman. Fuli Mountain is the highest peak in Guangdong province and also the chosen resting place by Yuan Zhuan. Holding all her belongings, a palm-sized compass, a set of formation flags, and a piece of jade ju, as her father said, passed on from male to female. Regarding this Yujue, her father left her with no other choice. Who would have let the Xianyuan lineage pass down to her generation, and it has declined to the end of the road. Recalling her father's words, after his death, she asked her to find a good man to marry herself. If the other person didn't like her profession, she could give up. After all, it doesn't matter whether there is still a chance to continue the broken inheritance. Unfortunately, her father has been gone for less than a month, and she hasn't had time to find a man before the end of the world comes. Entering the apocalypse, the wickedness of human nature can no longer be regulated. Yuan Zhuan witnessed the tragic fate of too many women, and the source of the disaster, apart from 50% natural disasters, the remaining 50%, came from the men she loved or knew. Of course, perhaps there were other sources of disaster mixed in, and she had seen enough of the fate of this woman alone. In fact, she easily and decisively cut off her idea of marriage. With her strength, she has been single for 10 years. Finally, on her 31st birthday, she decided to make it her lifelong taboo. People say, it's so sad that she even choked her teeth when drinking water. She didn't have a choked tooth, but she went up the mountain to seek death and even encountered a violent bear zombie. That's enough. Go to your mother's place. Don't chase after me. I'm ready to die, can't I leave the whole body? Thief god. I'll wipe it. Yuan Zhuan ran wildly with his short legs, pulling out his feet. With a height of 1.6 meters, he was like an ant in front of a mutant zombie bear swarm that was over 3 meters high. He tore open, and couldn't even divide the entire zombie swarm by piece. Compared to the fierce bear that doesn't even need to dodge obstacles, Yuan Zhuan not only needs to avoid branches, twigs, and jungles, but also natural traps that occasionally appear on the road, and his speed is properly slowed down. As his physical strength was about to run out, Yuan Zhuan bit his big yellow teeth and bid farewell to his little friend, formation flag, in tears in his heart. She is not afraid of death, but she is afraid of being dismembered. Moreover, they were still dismembered alive. So, she can only give up her little friend. The bright red Bagua formation flags were thrown out one by one, accurately landing in their respective positions to defend, and Yuan Zhuan's chaotic steps of escape showed a pattern. Until the formation takes shape. Burst. I let out a low shout. Roaming and rumbling. 11 zombie bears turned into flesh in the formation and were buried by collapsed mountain peaks. Yuan Zhuan spread his buttocks on a huge stone, becoming a dead dog. Oh my God, I can't bear to see her dead. Amidst endless grievances, a shimmering light cast onto the shining chip of the compass. Yuan Zhuan was surprised and propped up her head. Damn it, what did she see? It's a mountain pool. Oh, there's also fish. After experiencing countless difficulties and obstacles, she surprisingly found her ideal burial ground like this. Like a shining light, Yuan Zhuan had the strength to catch fish, roast fish, take a shower, all of which fell behind. Well, it's so damn comfortable, it's been a long time since I was so comfortable. Lying on the wet grass, Yuan Zhuan felt that he could enjoy such a moment of fullness before he died, which was also worth his life. Memory turned around, and Yuan Zhuan seemed to have seen his father being beaten and vomiting blood due to a deviation in divination. Her father, who was 1.8 meters tall and not particularly weak, was not very sturdy. His handsome face, coupled with his ethereal temperament, had once captivated countless beautiful women. However, after her mother's difficult birth, she never married again. She doesn't have any memories of her mother, but she always remembers the tenderness and nostalgia of her father. When he recalled his mother, she thought that if her mother were still alive, their family would be happy and healthy, happier than all other families in the world. Unfortunately, she doesn't have that fate. Even her father, during her high school years, suffered a foundation injury due to fighting against villains. After being bedridden for several years, he passed away with the burden of not letting go of her. Her life was actually a tragedy. Accompanied by the long-lost morning light, Yuan Zhuan tidied himself up neatly, stood upright, like a soldier about to go to the battlefield, with faith, devout and brave. Dad, Mom, here comes the seal script. End of this chapter. Chapter 2. Many ugly people causing misfortune. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 2. Many ugly people causing misfortune. In a daze, Yuan Zhuan's slender twigs made a hissing sound as he closed his eyes and tried to dodge. His whole body was weak and powerless, and his face, neck, feet, hands felt a piercing pain. I rubbed and hit him, it hurt. Which dog thing did it to her? How much hatred and resentment do you have? Even if you die, you still need to whip the corpse. I want to open my eyes and resist, but my eyelids are as if I have been weighed down, unable to lift them. As the pain became clearer, Yuan Zhuan wished he could lie still and pretend to be dead. Damn it, it's hard to die peacefully, isn't it? In reality, it is indeed a fake corpse. The strength to nurse was exhausted before opening a small gap in her eyelids. In the dim light, 3 or 5 blurry figures stood in the distance. The closest figure to her was short and chubby, holding a strip of something in her hand, cursing profusely while using the strip to suck it at her. Listening to the sound, she should be quite old, at least over 60. You're still fighting, are you looking for death? Wait, when I have the strength, I won't be able to kill you. The pain was severe, coupled with a dizzy mind. Yuan Zhuan had not yet realized his situation. He struggled and wanted to get up, but it was all in vain. His limbs were completely unresponsive, as soft as noodles. Grandpa's. Due to physical limitations, Yuan Zhuan could only feel irritable inside. The dryness of her throat made it impossible for her to even roar back. The pain of the flesh and skin fiercely stimulated Yuan Zhuan's brain nerves, making her half awake, but she still couldn't resist the weakness brought by the lack of foundation. Anxiety and exposed intense emotions surged up, and her body couldn't bear it. Her head tilted, causing Yuan Zhuan to lose consciousness again. Before losing consciousness, she thought of waiting for her to recover and making sure to pull it back. Iron pillar, the seal and seal script is burning very badly. It's been a day and a night and I haven't woken up yet. If it continues like this, the seal and seal script may be foolish. You can't refuse to save yourself, woo. The woman cried sadly, her choked nasal voice buzzing like a fly, making people feel restless. Yuan Seal slept very restlessly. No, Seal script has a great destiny, it's okay, ah. If something really happens, isn't there still Yuan Zhu? The man's comforting words had no substantive effect, and he was not even prepared to let go and take the person to the hospital, only making the woman cry even more. Tai Zhu, anyway, the Seal script is also your nominal daughter. Can't you ask my mom to pay me some money to go to the clinic to see her, just because I have been doing my best for Sun Sun and Min Min in these years? Yu Xiang, you don't know our mother's temper. She values money more than her life, and the Seal script still makes us fight like this. If we send her to the clinic and let outsiders know, how will she live in the village in the future? The man's gentle words were all difficult, but the meaning was very clear. Mom carries more weight than daughter.in.law and stepdaughter, and the face of the mother is more important than the health of the stepdaughter. Wan Taizhu. You're really not a person, you have no conscience. Sob. Why am I so unlucky? Why did I just marry such a man? Sob. The woman, even though angry, suppressed her voice and shouted the man's name in a harsh voice. She then wept weakly, blaming the unfairness of fate. Someone whose nerves are weak and constantly disturbed by crying is full of resentment. Where the hell is this? Didn't she throw herself into the pool? Can she die a good death? This kind of man who sounds like a scumbag, if he doesn't kill him, he'll keep the barbecue for the Chinese New Year. What's going on? Crying and crying, crying is useless. If you can't stand up on your own, crying to death is also useless. Amidst endless resentment, Yuan Zhuan was carried into his lean embrace, with cold porcelain pieces pressed against his lips. Subconsciously, he opened his mouth and something warm slid into his mouth. He was so hungry the instinct of her body made Yuan Zhuan swallow heavily, causing a burning sensation in her dry and painful stomach. Her limbs and bones seemed to be infused with warmth, so warm that she almost let out a sigh. Comfortable after drinking congee, I fell asleep again. Not long after, Yuan Zhuan woke up feeling dizzy. A dim yellow light squeezed into his eyes, and his mind stiffened as he stared at the tiles above his forehead, feeling a bit confused. The layers of spider webs on the vertical and horizontal beams make the scalp tingle. Hey, let me go. Which era of house is this? Aren't tiles and beams the end of the last century? She was saved. Sent to the deep mountains and forests. Is this a hunter's house? My mind is buzzing with porridge. I was hit by a heavy object on my chest before I could sort out the situation. Yuan Zhuan. It hurts. Unable to catch my breath. There's a dirty word she really wants to say, grass. What kind of dog is trying to harm my mother again? Unable to lift their hands in time, the limb stress response developed in the apocalypse reaches their heads. Even if they are powerless, they fiercely hit the unknown object with their heads. I bumped into you and didn't even let me die so easily. Kill you. Zhao Yuxiang covered her painful forehead that had been hit by her daughter, staring blankly at Yuan Zhuan, who was full of anger, at a loss. What's wrong with this? Is the seal script burnt and confused? What did you say? Why don't you understand? Seal script, woo-woo. What's wrong with you? What's wrong? Mom, seal script. Woo-woo. Yuan Zhuan's face warmed as she was hugged to the brim, her forehead pressed against her painful bone, and she listened to the cries in her ear, wanting to further counterattack. It's not a zombie, that's good, wait. Who is this woman? Why are you crying while holding her? Dong dong. Dong dong. Sister. Sister. Mom. Mom. The child's sharp cry came from outside, and something knocked on the wooden door with a loud bang. Knock what you knock, shout what you shout, your sister is dead, crying and mourning little coward, you don't worry about anything, I owe you all, day and night, there's never a day to calm down. The child's childish screams were not yet over, and the sound of falling chairs and smashing pots and shovels echoed again, accompanied by the female voice's curse. After merging, it fiercely stimulated Yuan Zhuan's brain nerves. My grass. Can you be quiet? Mom. Sister. Mom. Ah ah ah. The child ignored and continued to scream, but not a few times before switching to a mournful scream, accompanied by punches, kicks, and even louder curses. It's not difficult to imagine the scene outside. Yuan Zhuan's irritable emotions didn't have time to vent. The woman holding her pushed her away with a loud cry and rushed out. The creaking sound of the wooden door was harsh. Don't hit my son. Don't hit my son. Bang bang bang. You despicable bitch, die despicable, let you seduce, let you seduce. Despicable. Beat you all to death, one by one. I earned it, why don't I die? Living is a waste of food. A series of vicious curses accompanied by the sound of heavy physical blows, as well as the moans of women and the screams of children, made Yuan Zhuan's heart twitch. The normal state of the apocalypse can already be imagined without looking at it. Even though she has become accustomed to it, why does she feel so much pain in her heart? What is the reason for this empathetic pain? Still confused in his mind, Yuan Zhuan couldn't figure it out and struggled to get up from the bed with his body's instincts. A tall man appeared at the door with his back lit, unable to see the contours and features clearly. Seeing Yuan Zhuan get up, he didn't come in and said, "Zhuan, you're still empty, don't lean forward." The man's voice was very familiar, it was the scumbag she heard when she was confused. Yuan Zhuan coldly glanced at Wan Taizhu. Although she couldn't see her appearance clearly, her whole body emitted a disgusted aura. Take a deep breath and feel as if your body's strength has improved slightly. I want to go out and see, but I can't handle it. I just get up and feel suffocated and uncomfortable. What the hell is this? Where the hell is she? Do you want to save someone? The mechanical electronic sound suddenly came. Yuan Zhuan was startled, his back felt cold. He pursed his lips, took a deep breath, and remained silent. Do you want to save someone? It's not an illusion. Looking around, there was no other person or object except for the man at the door. Do you want to save someone? The electronic voice repeated. At the door, the man with his back to the room is persuading something. Yuan Zhuan spoke low, who? She didn't notice any energy inside the room. Do you want to save someone is repeated again. Nonsense. Whether it's a person or a ghost, Yuan Zhuan has never been afraid. Excluding hunger, surprisingly unwilling to answer, forget it. Turning his eyes in secret, Yuan Zhuan was too lazy to speak again. After all, there was still an SB standing ahead. You don't have to worry about being heard by the other person, just use your brain to think, I can know. Grass. What operation is this? Has her body been taken away? Wait, body. Yuan Zhuan suddenly woke up and looked down at his hands and feet. They were black, thin, dirty, and covered in bruises and bruises. These were the marks of the vine being pulled. It's not her hands, no, to be precise, it's not her body. Although in the apocalypse, she rarely ate enough and was thin and picky, at the very least, she was very white and shiny, so she often smeared herself black, and yellow due to survival issues. The black and yellow applied and the real black and yellow are naturally different. The skin that is exposed to the outside is black and yellow, and it is still dirty. Recalling her hazy feeling before waking up, how many times did she roll off the ground? The point is, damn it, she was really beaten up by a dog. So, the truth is, she gave up someone else's body. If you keep grinding, the mother and brother of this body will die. The cause and effect that will arise will have to be compensated by you. Cause and effect. Grass, it's not her biological mother or brother, but she was still beaten to death by someone else. Why do you want her to compensate? Now it is Yuan Zhuan. Grass. Who the hell are you? How could you be so clear about the condition of this body? Can you help me regain my strength? Yeah, as long as you want, I'll give it to you. What is I thinking? Is it difficult for me to have it if I want it? Of course. Then give it to me, Yuan Zhuan said without further ado. The beating outside had been going on for some time, and this scumbag had been waiting at the door watching, muttering with a dog-like face, but didn't come forward to pull it. It seemed that he couldn't rely on him anymore. Agree to become the host, the system is connected. The mechanical voice finally brought some humanized emotions and excitement. System. What thing? Without time to think about it, the cold and painful body was surrounded by a warm sensation, and a faint warmth spread from the soles of the feet. Well, it's really comfortable. Her strength has returned. Fingers can move now, fist clenching is stronger, and body pain is no longer present. Unconsciously, Yuan Zhuan fell into a state of cultivation and closed his eyes. Wan Taizhu noticed that his stepdaughter had no other movement, just sitting on the edge of the bed, closing his eyes and recuperating. He then turned his gaze back and looked sorrowfully at his wife outside the door, who was protecting his stepson and rolling away, avoiding his mother's stick. He was too familiar with this scene, so he became numb. Who made it his mother? Yuan Zhuan opened his eyes and saw cheap scumbags watching with great interest as you dodged and dodged outside the door, crying and howling, almost grabbing a melon seed and sitting there watching. Grass, this damn thing. Even passers-by can be infuriated by this scene. With a light body, Yuan Zhuan jumped off the Kong and at some point held a stick as thick as his arm. Wan Taizhu suddenly felt a bit cold in his back, but when he turned his head, he hit him head-on. Bang! A sharp pain came, and Wan Taizhu fell to the ground unconscious. Looking down at the square faces of the man on the ground, Yuan Zhuan's eyes were filled with disgust. If it weren't for the fear of waking him up, she would definitely give him a plastic surgery. Many ugly people are causing trouble. Barefoot stepped on the man's face and crushed it. It's a pity that he doesn't have high heels. It was only when it was confirmed that it couldn't be any dirtier that Yuan Zhuan could release his breath and walk out with great strides. End of this chapter. Chapter 3. Escape. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 3. Escape. Which era is this? Just entered the 21st century. In 2002. The most peaceful era. Yuan Zhuan walked out of Wang Ba with a stick. Oh no, Wang Ba's aura. Crossing the threshold, painful gasps, screams from the child, unbearable curses, laughter from onlookers rushing towards her, the blood vessels in Yuan Zhuan's forehead bulging outwards, a wave of hatred rising from her heart and reaching the central nervous system. Her body's instinct made her want to tear the villain in front of her eyes to pieces. This is not her emotions, it's also her emotions. Within the range of the pupils, the mother and younger brother of this body were stepped on by an old lady who was as strong as a calf, with a thin bamboo strip that was over a meter long in her hand, fiercely pulling it. In summer, her thin clothing couldn't stop the power of the bamboo strip, and the injuries under her clothes were invisible. However, the exposed arms, neck, and face were all covered with thin and long swelling marks. Just looking at them, you knew how painful it was. Perhaps Yuan Zhuan's gaze was too direct, or perhaps he didn't expect Yuan Zhuan to have the strength to get up, even holding a stick in his hand. Jiao Lanhua's movements were momentarily halted by Yuan Zhuan's gaze. She stood straight with a slight bow, her triangular eyes raised, and her cold, venomous gaze said, "What's going on? Do you want to hit your elders, you scumbag? Yuan Zhuan, let's die a little. You've had a lot of courage, hee. Milk, kill her. Kill her," said Yuan Zhuan's stepfather's son, with a white and chubby face full of malice. "Zhuan and Zhuan, what are you doing? Take your younger brother in, mom's okay. Xiaoxiao heard Jiao Lanhua speak and looked up. She saw her daughter standing at the door with a pale face. She was overjoyed for a moment, and before she could even make her black and thin face shine, she pushed her son in front of Yuan and Zhuan with a panicked expression. She lowered her voice and said, "Close the door, there's no mom." Ah! Before finishing her sentence, she was slapped again and screamed in pain. Yuan Zhuan watched this scene with a sneer, his stick slashed horizontally without leaving any strength, hitting Jiao Lanhua's mouth with a bang. "Old thing, your mouth smells worse than feces." With a howl, Jiao Lanhua took a few steps back from the heavy blow, covered her mouth, and stared at the unfamiliar Yuan Zhuan in disbelief, even ignoring the yellow teeth that had fallen from her palm. "Take advantage of your illness and take your life." Yuan Zhuan never procrastinates when doing things. Taking advantage of the moment when Jiao Lanhua was stunned, a few more sticks hit her joints fiercely. After the severe pain, Jiao Lanhua couldn't stand and collapsed to the ground. "Someone. Sprinkle silver. Send a message." A room full of people, including stepbrothers, stepsisters, and Xiaoxiao, were all stunned by the sudden beating. The only one who reacted was Yuan Zhu, the younger brother of the original owner. He didn't daydream like the others, but instead, as if he had been broadened, picked up the slippers that Xiaoxiao had dropped from being beaten on the ground, and rushed towards Jiao Lanhua with a swoosh. His small hand tightly grasped the rubber-soled shoes, and his butt pouted, fiercely hitting Jiao Lanhua's face. "Pai li pa everyone. Yuan Zhuan. Is imitation ability so strong?" Jiao Lanhua said, "Ah ah. Little scumbag, ah 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 ah." Jiao Lanhua caught Yuan Zhu off guard a few times and turned around to catch him. The face full of fierce energy is even more ferocious. It's a killing intent. She wants to kill Yuan Zhu. "Pig!" Xiaoxiao screamed. "Grandma!" The step-siblings finally realized that it was time to help. In the past, when Xiaoxiao and her son were beaten up, these two siblings would just kick a few times if they were interested. They had already regarded Xiaoxiao as a mud that could be trampled on at any time. How could they have thought that one day, something despicable would learn to resist? No wonder the two of them stood still in shock and couldn't come to their senses for a long time. Seeing the siblings jumping over the wall in a hurry, Yuan Zhuan's eyes were filled with strong mockery, and her hatred filled her body with strength, almost overflowing. "Welcome up, make up a few more," click. Click. "Break Jiao Lanhua's arms." Ah ah. The excruciating pain made Jiao Lanhua roll in pain, ignoring her image, and her pig-like roar was about to overturn the entire yard. Worried about attracting his neighbors, Yuan Zhuan grabbed the rubber-soled shoes in Yuan Zhu's hand, stuffed Jiao Lanhua's mouth, and then pulled off her waist belt to tie it up in reverse. Suddenly, the room became clean and tidy. "Sister, bamboo strips." The withered little hand handed over the bamboo strips of Jiao Lanhua that fell on the ground. Yuan Zhuan lowered his head to the child's eyes, smiled, and took it with a thumbs up. "Smart." The child burst out laughing with Xiaomi teeth, "Shoo," a few times. Click. Ah, oh, oh. Oh my. It hurts so much. Killing, someone is here. The lingering hatred in the original owner's heart made Yuan Zhuan merciless in his actions. The painful siblings ran around the house like cockroaches, but could not escape the whip of the bamboo strips. The bamboo strips in Yuan Zhuan's hand were like long eyes, specifically targeting their delicate and tender flesh, and the sound of ghosts crying and wolves howling incessantly for a long time. "Sister, our dad is about to wake up." Yuan Zhu's reminder made Yuan Zhuan's movements slow for a moment, and he decided to end this bamboo shoot stir-fried meat. A few sticks knocked the person unconscious, took the cloth handed over by Yuan Zhu and stuffed it into their mouths, then took the hemp rope from Yuan Zhu's hand and tied the person. The siblings are too tacit and their movements are too agile. Watching the Jiao Lanhua all the way, it seems like they have fallen into an illusion, with their big mouth full of blood foam and their triangular eyes staring into a circle, even forgetting the pain. Yuan Zhuan turned around and still faced Jiao Lanhua with his fierce and lingering eyes. The latter trembled, but his eyes rolled over and he was scared unconscious. Seal and seal, seal and seal. Xiaoxiao saw her eldest daughter's unfamiliar appearance, her eyes red as she climbed up from the ground, stumbled and hugged Yuan Seal in her arms, and lightly patted her back. Don't worry, Seal and Seal, it's okay, Seal and Seal are back. Mom's Seal and Seal. People in extremely angry situations would make some abnormal behavior, as her father said. She shouted, and Seal and Seal will recover, definitely. Host, please note that the rapid charging function of the power is disintegrating. 1 hour later, the host is about to enter a 72-hour coma period. Yuan Seal script. WTFK. When I wipe the system, power, and disintegrate, why didn't you say it earlier? Coma for 72 hours. Is this the intention of letting their family die in the hands of these vampires? Based on her actions just now, she is dead and probably has to be picked up and whipped. No. 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 It's not because your body is too weak and the system's power is too strong for your body to bear. The countdown is starting now. Yuan Zhuan. Grass mud horse. Mom, let's leave here as a family. Let's go to the big city, and our family will always be together. Yuan Zhuan didn't even have time to pretend to have amnesia, so he stepped out of Xiaoxiao's arms and grabbed her shoulder, which protruded like a machine gun. Xiaoxiao shrunk her neck, scared enough by her daughter's changes, and stared at Yuan Zhuan in a daze. Her daughter's usually silent and numb eyes shone brilliantly. Seal script. Yang Yuxiang's lips wriggled a few times, murmuring the name of Yuan Seal script. Come on, time is running out now, but looking at this cheap mom, it doesn't seem like she can come to her senses for a while. Sister Noa's voice rang out beneath her. By the way, Yuan Zhu. Yuan Zhuan lowered his head and met a pair of bright big eyes, filled with love for his sister. Pig, tell your sister where is Grandpa's room. When going out, all you need most is money, as well as a household registration book. Yuan Zhuan doesn't even know where these things are. Reminder host, there are still 55 minutes left, countdown. Alright, stop talking, I know. Yuan Zhuan was angry and suppressed his explosive emotions. If it weren't for the system's late reminder, how could it have been delayed for so long? Sister, come with me. The little child grabbed her slender paw and ran towards the inner room. The wooden door of the easternmost room is hung with a copper lock. Sister, wait a moment. Yuan Zhuan was about to use a hammer to explode when the little one spoke out. With short legs, he ran away and stepped on Jiao Lanhua's body, touching it a few times. He took out a string of keys and ran back with a smile, handing them to Yuan Zhuan with a small expression of praise. Yuan Zhuan. She seems to have an amazing younger brother. The wooden door opened, and a scent that belonged exclusively to the elderly, combined with a strong smell of urine, rushed into his nose. Yuan Zhuan almost vomited. The room is only over 10 square meters long. In addition to a large bed, there is a square long table at the head of the bed, and a 1.8-meter wardrobe at the end of the bed, which is clear at a glance. The foul smell emanates from the wooden urination pane at the tail of that bed. These two old people are really good at enduring the stench, how dirty. Murmured, pinching his nose and carrying the painful urination to the back of the door. Pig, do you know where Grandpa's milk's money is hidden? Here. Black skinny fingers pointed to the dirty gray-black wooden cabinet at the head of the bed, which looked a bit outdated. Another big copper lock. Click. Yuan Zhuan opened the coat cabinet. Hurrah, pull off all the clothes, there are scattered pieces, and a bunch of bottles and cans. Pig, hurry up, help sister open these cans and pour the money onto the cloth. Yuan Zhuan hurriedly said, finding a snow-white cloth to spread on the ground. The old man's methods of hiding money were indeed uniform, and Yuan Zhuan quickly took out several paper packages from several old cotton jackets, all of which were well sealed with letters. TSK, how many? It's tens of thousands. With a mindset that he would rather kill by mistake than let go of a penny, Yuan Zhuan flipped through all the pockets of his clothes. During this time, he also went out to lock the door tightly and occasionally went out to make up for a few lying on the ground. There's no way, there's no medicine in hand, only violence left. The little one emptied all the loose money from the can at a fast pace. What made Yuan Zhuan laugh was that the little one seemed to recognize money, and he put aside the large amount of 2.5 cents. Unable to find the household registration book in the cabinet, Yuan Zhuan had to go out again to ask Xiaoxiao. Sure enough, she was also taken into the old lady's room. There is no one in the cabinet. So, looking around with one's gaze, comrade Yuan Zhuan, who had a superb ability to search for things, took it out from under the bed of the second elder. Hidden deep enough, it was wrapped tightly with tape on the bottom of the bed. Along with it, my ID card and marriage certificate. I'll wipe it. Surprisingly, there is still a marriage certificate. On the photo, the photos of Wan Datong and Yang Yuxiang should not be too clear. It's a real couple. It's a bit troublesome. This means we'll have to meet again in the future. Anyway, let's run first before we talk. Their mother is so weak that she can be pinched to death by Wan Taizhu. In order to avoid being caught after running out, Yuan Zhuan took all his documents with him. The country has entered an era where everything requires an ID card. Without an ID card, it depends on how you pursue it. When everyone, big and small, returned to the living room with a cloth bag, all they saw was Xiaoxiao holding a big package, sitting on a stool with an uneasy expression in a daze. This is a big surprise for Yuan Zhuan. She was a bit worried just now that this cheap mother didn't want to bring them along. Seal script, are we really leaving? Seeing her daughter and son come out, Xiaoxiao seemed to have found her backbone. Xiaoxiao, who had never done such an outrageous act before, felt extremely anxious in her heart. Mom, we have to live and live well. In the future, with me in this family, I will let you and the pig live a good life. Yuan Zhuan cooked a bowl of soulful chicken soup, which easily made Che Jian's eyes turn red. Xiaoxiang's eyes were red, and she looked at the big girl who was much taller than her peers, with a mysterious trust. She's a big girl, she follows her father in everything, tall and capable. Yuan Zhu looked up at his sister, who was almost half a body taller than him, and then at his mother with red eyes. He nodded solemnly, his dark face filled with an innocent smile. Follow my sister and mother. The three-wheeled motorcycle parked in the backyard made Yuan Zhuan show his first satisfied smile after arriving here. Sample, you're quite rich. Get in the car. Xiaoxiao was responsible for guiding the way, and the family of 3 rode tricycles and fled from a distance with the power of the system. Even an 8-year-old body can perfectly handle a tricycle. The key is that she is tall enough to touch the pedal. It's just that the feet are a bit small, and the area of the focus is small, which is very laborious. Perhaps it was heaven's pity, as if knowing that Yuan Zhuan was coming today. The gasoline in the motorcycle was just filled the night before yesterday, and Wan Taizhu had not yet arrived and was still in use. Train stations, regardless of the era, are always the places with the highest foot traffic. Although it's not a holiday, the mother and son still haven't bought a hard sleeper. Hard seat, that's a sad term with the idea of never getting cheap. Yuan Zhuan sold the motorcycle near the train station. Due to time constraints, the 80% new 3-wheeled motorcycle, which was originally supposed to cost over 2,000, was sold for only 1,000 yuan, but it was still worth it. This was done despite what the car dealer had said was a dizzying situation. Perhaps when they realized it, they would have to investigate the source of the motorcycle or think it was too much and not worth it. However, This money was indeed enough for their mother to spend a long time. Due to Yuan Zhuan's height, the ticket seller received the full ticket, while Xiao Yuanzhu bought half of the ticket to make him sit comfortably. As the family of three sat down, Yuan Zhuan only had time to say, "I'm going to faint. Don't make a big fuss, the car will wake up before it arrives at the main station." When she bought the ticket, she had already confirmed her location in a small city on the northwest border, which took a long time. There were more than 4 days, enough for her to wake up on the train. Seal script. Without a chance to react, Zhao Yuxiang let out a low cry. Her daughter had already passed out and was busy reaching out to embrace her. Fortunately, when they sat down, no passengers had yet arrived from the opposite position, which did not attract anyone's attention. "Mom, sister asleep." Yuan Zhu saw her sister leaning against her mother's shoulder and leaning against her little head, feeling a little worried. "Well, sister's asleep, don't disturb her." But what she didn't expect was that this wait lasted for 3 days. "Okay, Mom." After running and panicking all the way, the family of 3 were exhausted and the car was about to start in just 5 minutes. Their family is temporarily safe. End of this chapter. Chapter 4. Young Ailan. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 4. Young Ailan. With expectations for the future, a family of 3 rushed to a strange city regardless of everything. The platform outside the window slowly retreated, and unfamiliar steps came into view. Although Zhao Yuxiang was reluctant to leave the barely stable Wanjia, being able to live with her children was more important. In today's situation, there is no way out. Stay here, can you withstand a beating? It's not certain. Their mother and son are all in poor physical condition, and the family has suffered a great loss. With their temperament, how could they possibly let them go? She doesn't want to die. It's not because she's afraid of death, but because she's dead. Even if the children survive, it will be very difficult. Thinking of this, the last bit of nostalgia in Zhao Yuxiang's heart was shattered. She hugged her daughter tightly, her timidity faded from her eyes, and the rest was her longing and hope for the future. No matter where you go, you live better than being with these people, so the farther you go, the better. Their family will always be together. When the whole family woke up from the excruciating pain, they faced not only physical pain but also huge financial losses. The rope on Jiao Lanhua's body was untied, and her first reaction was to rush back to the room. The chaos on the ground made her legs weak. Holding on to her luck, she trembled as she approached the cabinet. When she saw that there was nothing left on the familiar bundle skin, her eyes were filled with blood, and her throat made a hissing sound. With her eyes closed, her body fell straight back and fainted. And Wan Taizhu woke up and walked out of the door, squatting on the wooden threshold at the height of a small stool like a fool, staring blankly at the pear trees in the yard. The yard is still my own, with wooden sticks and bamboo strips left, and no one left. I can't figure it out. In just half a day, he lost his wife and money, even his newly bought motorcycle. Even though that woman was being pinched to death, she worked tirelessly for her own son and daughter, and wouldn't leave no matter how hard she fought, would she? What Wan Taizhu doesn't understand is that women can give up everything for love, but they can also sacrifice everything for their children to live well. Moreover, remarriage is already a way for her to earn a living for her children. How could she possibly stay when her life is gone? On the train, due to extreme fear and exhaustion from running, the 3 of us slept soundly. When we woke up, it was already the morning of the next day. Opening her eyes, Zhao Yuxiang saw only the big eyes of her son Goyalu and the sleeping face of her daughter. "Pig, are you awake? Are you hungry?" Zhao Yuxiang shifted her body in her arms and shook her numb arm, asking softly. Yuan Zhu nodded and said, "I'm hungry. Why hasn't my sister woken up yet? Even pigs haven't slept." "Shoo, my sister is tired. Let her have a rest. You drag out the package. There is mantu inside." Zhao Yuxiang stopped his son from talking and pointed at his feet. The little person in her arms slept soundly and breathed evenly. Xiaoxiao couldn't bear to wake her up. Her maid, who had not recovered from her injury last time, should have rested for a few more days before getting down to the ground. Unexpectedly, what happened yesterday would have happened. It is certain that she was tired, so let her rest for now and wake up later to eat something. Young Ailan has been paying attention to this family of three for a long time. When she got in the car and sat down, she saw the three women sleeping together in a daze. They slept all night long, and when she woke up, they were still asleep. If it weren't for their even breathing, she might have thought they had been unconscious for a long time. How tired was it that they slept for so long? Looking at their attire again, there was not a single spot that was not torn. They were almost covered in patches all over their bodies, and their cloth shoes were also showing their toes. In such an era where the people were well off and their lives were stable, it was also difficult for them to live such a difficult life. It was the first time she had seen such a hard-working family outside of the TV station. "Mom, why are you looking at others again? How impolite." The soft and sticky female voice approached young Ailan's ear, causing her to recover from her own thoughts. She smiled awkwardly and touched her daughter's head. "As soon as I regained my senses, in the blink of an eye, I met a pair of soft and weak eyes. My gaze was timid, but there was no panic or fear. A thin and bony woman's appearance is naturally not much better, but her facial features are not to the point of making people feel ugly, at least, they can still be seen." Young Ailan raised her lips and smiled, giving the other person a gentle smile, and the other person politely replied with a soft smile, "Big girl, where are you going? Why are you so tired? Where are your men?" Before young Ailan could speak, her aunt beside her had already asked her the questions from the bottom of her heart. It was obvious that not only did she find this family of three very strange, but she also paid attention to this family. Xiaoxiao was a bit embarrassed when asked by the kind-looking old lady. Subconsciously, she hugged her small body tightly in her arms and looked at her son. Her anxious emotions leaked out, and it was easy to tell at a glance that it was probably her first time traveling far away. Her defensive mentality was very strong. "Grandma, my dad is working in Jibei. Let's go find him and he's waiting for us over there." The childish voice resolved Xiaoxiao's predicament, and she quickly nodded in agreement. She didn't think why her youngest son lied so much. "Oh, that's good. It's best to be together as a family, hee." The old lady cleared her mind and lost interest in further questioning. The poor family, after all, was suffering and had nothing to talk about, so she started chatting with the old lady next to her. Yuan Zhu turned around and muttered something in a low voice. No one could hear it clearly. He pulled out the package, found yellow corn mantou, made by the old lady in the morning, ready for lunch, twisted two into Xiaoxiao's hands, and then pouted his small buttocks to tumble out of a large stainless steel water cup. "This is Wantieju's," and Xiaoxiao thought it was good, so he put it on. "Don't burn it, got it." Young Ailan was amused by the interaction between her mother and son and said, "Sister, your son is so sensible." "You are fortunate," Xiaoxiao returned with a warm and gentle smile, touching her daughter's dry yellow hair. "Well, both of them are very sensible, it's my blessing," she said. Suyu smiled with a curled lip as she saw her mother talking to her partner. Both mother and daughter are people with good temperament, exuding a peaceful aura that is not repulsive. Just smiling makes them very approachable. Pouring hot water over, Yuan Zhu and his mother had a full meal together in order to save money. The little one drank a bit too much water. It wasn't until his belly swelled that he put down the water glass. He looked at the package under his eyes with a bit of greed and silently stuffed it back in. "Mom, let's eat when sister gets up," he said. "Okay, let's wait for my sister." Touching her son's head, Xiaoxiao's gentle expression couldn't be concealed. After the meal, Yuan Zhu had already slept soundly and was not ready to sleep anymore. After greeting Xiaoxiao, he began to look around the entire carriage. Of course, He did not go far and was always in Xiaoxiao's sight. Although it is in the car, it cannot be guaranteed to be 100% safe. Through a series of conversations, young Ailan discovered that although Xiaoxiao appeared simple, she was full of vigilance, as long as it was when it comes to matters related to their family. Almost all of them are well diverted from other topics, and it doesn't feel too abrupt. This, compared to the mountain people in her impression, seems somewhat off-center, unexpectedly intelligent. Has the girl read a book? This is the biggest question in young Ailan's heart. Xiaoxiao was taken aback by the question, her expression somewhat strange, as if in a dilemma, as if conflicted, and she didn't give a response for a long time. Unexpectedly, when she casually asked, she made the other person difficult. Young Ailan felt a bit embarrassed and wanted to apologize, but Xiaoxiao spoke up on her own. No, I was raised by my father. He was a teacher, but he had passed away for several years. Because she had not survived those years of hardships, she went away in pain with regret. Ah, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to mention the girl's sadness. Young Ailan didn't expect this result and was also surprised by Xiaoxiao's answer. It can be seen that the old man taught his daughter very well, but this life seems a bit unpleasant. This is not only evident from her attire, but also from the bruises on her neck that she tried to cover up, but couldn't completely cover up until 6 o'clock in the afternoon. Yuan Zhuan showed no signs of waking up. If he didn't breathe evenly, his whole body would be in a relaxed state of deep sleep, which might make young Ailan feel how the child was doing. At 8 o'clock in the evening, Xiaoxiao was a bit worried and began to try shaking Yuan Zhuan's body. Zhuan, it's time to wake up, you've been sleeping for a long time, Zhuan. The gentle shaking did not make the sleeping child open their eyes, but also slowly made Xiaoxiao feel a little panicked. Seal script. Her voice trembled as she spoke again. Yuan Zhubai looked at his sister with a small face, then at his mother with red eyes. Feeling lost, he grabbed his clothes by the corner and said, "Mom, what's wrong with sister?" Zhuan, what's wrong with you, Zhuan? Xiaoxiao's movements grew larger and larger, but no matter how she shook, the little person remained unresponsive. End of this chapter. Chapter 5. Suspected. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 5. Suspected. Sister, please stop shaking and show me the child. I am a doctor. Young Ailan also felt something was wrong and worried about stopping Xiaoxiao's movements. If the child was really sick, such shaking may make the child's condition more serious, but Xiaoxiao's tears finally couldn't help but slide out of her eyes, and her body gave way, placing the person in her arms within young Ailan's gaze, trembling slightly. For Xiaoxiao, Dr. Young Ailan's identity was like a floating wood caught on the brink of death, which gave her a great sense of trust. Young Ailan leaned over and took Yuan Zhuan's left hand, measured her pulse, then flipped through her eyeballs and lightly touched the pulse fluctuations at her neck. A hint of doubt flashed on her delicate and dignified face. There doesn't seem to be any problem with this pulse, it's just that the body is severely depleted and malnourished, and everything else is fine. It's more like falling asleep. Sleeping, isn't it too long? How's it going, doctor? Xiaoxiao couldn't help but ask as she eagerly watched young Ailan's movements. The latter shook her head, causing Xiaoxiao's eyes to open wide in shock. She almost couldn't breathe and a cold sweat oozed from her forehead. Fortunately, young Ailan immediately noticed Xiaoxiao's reaction and quickly explained, "Big sister, don't think too much. The child is fine." I shook my head because I didn't see any other problems with the child. It's not that there is no cure. After the inspection, young Ailan also sweated profusely. Fortunately, she explained quickly enough, otherwise she would have scared the girl unconscious. Mom. The daughter beside her touched her mother silently, a bit amused. Her mother is good at everything, but sometimes she likes to speak and gasp for breath. Over the years, this habit has not changed, and it scares people a lot. What's wrong with my daughter? Why hasn't she woken up? Do I have to take her to the hospital? Your daughter is not sick, it's just that her body is malnourished and has suffered a severe deficit. There is also a possibility of coma during this deep sleep. The next station is the big station, and the train stops for 20 minutes. Go buy some milk powder to drink for her, replenish her breath, and she should wake up soon. Deficit. Malnutrition. Yes, Zhuan was knocked unconscious and had a fever 2 days ago because he forgot to cut pig grass. He had not eaten any staple food for nearly 2 days. The congee he drank in the middle was thin and he could see people. In addition, he was in a hurry and had not had a good rest. No wonder he fell asleep for such a long time. It was hungry, it's her fault, it's her negligence holding the child tightly. Xiaoxiao's eyes straightened, tears couldn't stop flowing, and her heart wrenched with pain. Not anymore. Her daughter and son, as long as she is still alive, will never let them go hungry again, absolutely not anymore. Yuan Zhu didn't quite understand the meaning behind young Ailan's words, but he also knew that his sister couldn't sleep all the time because of her poor health. Unlike other children, he didn't cry when he saw his mother crying. He just silently grabbed her by the corner of her clothes, silently shedding tears. His pitiful appearance was heartbreaking. Young Ailan and her son looked at the three of them, feeling weak in their hearts. Needless to say, they were all poor. Judging from their clothing and body shape, it felt like they had been abused for many years. Do the men in the family really treat these three of them well? This is a new era, and there are still people who can't eat enough. Big girl, are you having trouble with your head? How about I? As soon as she spoke, she was hit by someone and turned her head in confusion, facing a pair of shrewd eyes. It was the old lady who had been chatting with people in the next seat since getting on the car. She was flirting with her, shaking her head, and looking at the mother and son with a pointed gaze. Young Ailan instantly understood her meaning. She was showing herself not to have a bad heart. Now there are too many scammers who seek sympathy through pity. In private, she doesn't know how well she eats and dresses. The old lady's disgust was all too obvious in her eyes, as she believed that the mother and son had deliberately sold out. Xiaoxiao didn't know the movements between the two, but she heard young Ailan's unfinished words. When she reacted, she just smiled gratefully, shook her head, and lowered her eyes to look at her daughter in her arms, saying, "No, I have money. I can take care of my child very well when it's time. I'll go down and buy milk powder." Due to the intervention of the aunt, the conversation ended like this. Xiaoxiao didn't take the opportunity to say anything more to young Ailan. She just asked her son to fetch some hot water and feed her daughter a few sips. Seeing that the child knew how to swallow it, she breathed a sigh of relief and lowered her head to kiss her forehead, hoping to stop at the big station. Although his body was so weak that he didn't even have the strength to open his eyes, Yuan Zhuan was aware of what was happening outside. This child's body is indeed in great deficit. She usually eats less, and finally has a chance to eat more. She will also share a portion with her younger brother, not to mention having to work and resist beating. TSK. The memory content of this child is simply unbearable. Every family is not like a snake hoary, it is comparable to a snake hoary, even more terrifying than the past skinny ones. No wonder she can't endure it and let herself take her life. Host, the mechanical voice suddenly sounded, and Yuan Zhuan's soul trembled in shock. Why? You really can't take a breath before speaking. My mother's soul is almost scared away by you. I am not a living organism and cannot breathe. Yuan Zhuan rolled his eyes in the darkness and said, "Speak up if you have something, and fart if you have something." Host, your outstanding bill is online. Please check it as soon as possible. What? Bill? Shen's bill. The response given by the system to someone's explosive hair is a debt note, with the words. 1 pill of Huili pill, borrower. Yuan Zhuan, repayment time. As soon as possible, date, fingerprint. You're so amazing that you even stole fingerprints. The system, I'll fuck your uncle. System. My grass. You dare to electrocute me so much. Although it is a soul body, this kind of electric shock from the soul body is truly enchanting. The main reason is to insult the system again, and the electric shock intensity has increased tenfold. Yuan Zhuan. Grass and grass, how can I repay the loan? A seasoned person is a hero, and people don't compete with the system. To get to the point, she needs to figure out what's going on with this inexplicable system. As soon as the words fell, a sesame seed-sized glowing spot appeared in the endless darkness, and the electronic sound in the brain system was clear: use your soul power to touch it. Soul power. What the hell? Asking the doubts in my heart, the system disappeared again. My grass. You're too irresponsible, aren't you? Aren't you afraid that I won't repay the loan? I'll do it again, it doesn't matter if there's a system or not. She is the Heavenly Master. As long as it is a peaceful era with people, souls, and ghosts, can she still not eat? The system can only add icing on the cake to her successful future. It doesn't matter if she wants it or not. I thought so, but there are still 20.4 hours left to repay the loan. Beyond that time, my soul is in a state of despair. The system reminded me again, but it made Yuan Zhuan feel angry and want to hold his middle finger. Fuck your uncle. She knew it wasn't a good thing, it was just a forced buying and selling. Let's curse inwardly and take a deep breath. Isn't M soul power? I will definitely figure it out. 1 hour. 3 hours. 10th hour, warning, the host's health has a 10-hour countdown. Please repay the loan as soon as possible. My grass. Urging hair, causing headaches in the skull. Yuan Zhuan in the darkness was so anxious that she scratched her head and cheeks. It wasn't that she didn't want to, it wasn't that she wouldn't. Wait. This is a semi-transparent hand. Try touching your knees. The cold sensation spreads to your brain. My grass, I can touch things now. Excited and almost jumping, Yuan Zhuan extended his index finger to point at the small sesame in the air. Ding-ling, system starts. The mechanical sound rang, causing Yuan Zhuan's small heart to collapse and jump rapidly. A transparent screen of over 20 inches popped out of thin air. I wipe, what is this? A computer screen. On the screen, there are 2 thumb-sized square icons in the left, top, and right corners: End of World, Modern. In the lower right corner, there is also a half-sized square surrounding the warehouse. Apocalypse, Modernity. What the hell? Congratulations to the host, we have opened the plain trading system. Now, please open the End of World Guide and read the usage instructions. End of this chapter. Chapter 6. Apocalypse Zhang Xiaoxiao. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 6. Apocalypse Zhang Xiaoxiao. The mechanical electronic sound of the system is sharp, the nerve lines are tingling with pain, and the 2 bold characters in the middle of the screen, description, and buling, are flashing with blood-red fluorescence. The Yuan seal script of the soul body was shaken by this blood-colored big character, and it felt like a pit, or an irreparable kind. The situation is overwhelming. If you want to live, even if you know it's a pit, you have to jump. Fingertips lightly touch, and the screen feels like ingredients are being placed in an oil pot. With a sizzling sound, it explodes, with dense black dots smudging away from the center point, squeezing into black lines of varying lengths, forming blocks of text like self-awareness. This is a scene that drives people with dense phobia crazy. Explanation. This system is a plain trading system, and the host's responsibility is to be responsible for goods trading. Transaction interface. End of world. Transaction rules. For trading goods only. And then it's gone. Is this the so-called explanation? Can you be more concise? Flipped his eyes and touched the warehouse graphic with his fingertips. 10 parallel squares appear on the screen, each with the 3 characters 10 cubic inside. After some thought, Yuan Zhuan understood that this should be the size of the warehouse storage space. 10 squares make a total of 100 cubic meters of warehouse space. Can we really put things in? System, how to install it? System. Yuan Zhuan. Damn it, pretend to be mute again. Knowing his own situation, Yuan Zhuan naturally wouldn't be foolish enough to try the warehouse function now. Drip by drop in a daze for a few seconds, 3 blood-red SOS letters appeared on the screen. Ha! Startled, Yuan Zhuan was a bit confused. System, what's going on? I didn't ask for help. Remaining time, 8 hours, Yuan Zhuan. Excited, my finger touched the distress letter, brushing it, the blood color blurred, and a dirty and frightened face appeared on the screen. Oh. Can this thing still be video? Who is on the other side? Is there anyone? The other side spoke in a female voice, trembling and hoarse. She seemed very panicked and her voice was deliberately lowered. Yuan Zhuan didn't speak and saw a small frame from the bottom left corner, which was completely blank without his own face, so this is a one-way video. Hello, who are you? Is anyone there? Hello. As Yuan Zhuan silently looked at his face on the screen, in the world across from him, in a low residential building, a skinny girl wrapped in a dirty cotton jacket huddled in a corner, using an old dining table to block coldness and conceal her figure. She held a mobile phone in her hand, shaking her hand and occasionally lifting her head, looking towards the door in panic, as if very worried that someone or a monster might rush in from outside. This is the second year of entering the apocalypse, where humans have gone through rounds of zombie hunting and cleansing. Those who survive are either lucky or truly powerful. Here, it's the real law of the jungle. The end of the day is approaching without any warning. Suddenly, one day, as dusk falls, there will be no more day or night, no sun or moon, only the same color that connects heaven and earth, black and red. Like colors contaminated with blood. Zhang Xiaoxiao, 18 years old, is a dog in her 3rd year of high school. She does exercises in the middle of the night and falls asleep when tired. The next morning at 8 o'clock, she is awakened by screams and clamor downstairs. Her floor is near the entrance exit, and the street is outside the window. Angry, she rolled a few times under the bed and couldn't fall asleep. She jumped up and rushed to the window, wanting to see what was happening outside. The chaos downstairs left Zhang Xiaoxiao stunned. It turned out that someone had gone crazy and bitten several people, and it was an indiscriminate attack. Everyone was dodging and running around. The scream just now was clearly made by the passers-by affected. Quickly, someone called the police, and the police arrived. Seeing the solemn badge, Zhang Xiaoxiao also breathed a sigh of relief. Just didn't expect that the police were also injured. After the warning was ineffective, they violently subdued the madman and took him away in the car. After the crowd panicked, those who went to the hospital were holding up videos from their phones to point. Soon, everyone regained their composure, as if everything that had just happened was just an accidental violent newspaper behavior. However, Zhang Xiaoxiao felt that she might not have slept well and had hallucinations. She saw those crazy people biting people, their faces covered in blood foam, tearing off the flesh of living people without spitting it out. She stared straight at them, chewing something numbly on her face. They seemed to have eaten the meat. Just like wild beasts that have not been eradicated, they treat living people as food, hunt them and then devour them. Suddenly remembering the zombie horror movie I had watched, isn't what happened downstairs a realistic portrayal of the horror movie? By a stroke of fate, he looked up at the position in the east. There was no sun today, and the sky was blood red, the same color as the blood foam on the madman's face. Like a monster's big mouth, ready to devour heaven and earth at this moment, Zhang Xiaoxiao felt like falling into an ice cave, covered in goosebumps, and shuddered fiercely. Anxiety surged from the bottom of her heart, and she turned around and plunged into the blanket, shaking her body until her mother called her to wake up for breakfast before going out with a pale face. After breakfast, my mother went to work and my younger brother went to school. He wandered around the house like a ghost for most of the day. When my younger brother was about to finish school, she went to pick him up and quietly bought 2 fruit knives and a kitchen knife from the knife shop. The remaining pocket money is about 15,000 yuan. She bought all the rice online and it will be delivered to her home the next day. Perhaps it was a blessing from heaven that she fought for the hope of survival for her family. After the rice arrived, she had everyone move into the storage room. More than 6,000 kilograms of rice were enough for their family to eat for over a year. After 3 days of trembling, the end of the day came. The first thing that went wrong was hospitals and prisons. She will always remember that night. In the middle of the night, the street outside the building screamed through the darkness, waking up the whole family and also frightening the other neighbors in the building. Many people got up and looked out the window, wondering if there was a homicide happening outside, so they could help report it to the police. However, this sight suppressed everyone. The murder case happened, but the bloody and incomplete heads and faces under the street lights were not human at all. That night, she persuaded her parents to continue working the next day and observed the situation first. She didn't know why her parents believed her words at that time. In short, their family prepared a lot of instant noodles, cookies, and drinking water. They were like crazy, going back and forth between the city and the village on multiple nights, transferring supplies to the cellar under their father's old house. The true collapse of the world occurred 3 months later when the entire social order collapsed. The sharp increase in the number of deaths has brought about chaos in order. In the end, even if the power and government departments want to steer things towards a better direction, they cannot do it because the result of the city destruction has occurred. In the following time, it was like a death ceremony, spreading rapidly and repeatedly washing away humanity, achieving the survival of the fittest. Cities fell one after another, and in less than half a year, the current situation of the world became one where the country is not for the country, and the home is not for the home. Apart from the encirclement of zombies, there is also internal human struggle, and the strength of force is directly related to survival. The law of the jungle. It is a true portrayal of the apocalypse. The materials collected by Zhang Xiaoxiao's family provided them with a safe and secure 8 months in the village, but they were eventually destroyed by their neighbors in the face of life and death. It is the most testing of human nature. Unfortunately, Zhang Xiaoxiao's mother's momentary kindness brought about the disaster of extinction. The neighbor brought his teammates and stole all the supplies from the Zhang family, leaving no water. It was at that time that the family began an endless wandering life, desperate and painful. My younger brother is only 8 years old and needs to be watched. Zhang Xiaoxiao is also a girl, even if she works hard to become stronger. Still unable to match the strength of men in the apocalypse, girls are very dangerous, even if they are as thin as a stick and have a yellow and messy face. So, Zhang's father has always gone out alone to search for supplies to support his family. However, one person's energy and ability were ultimately limited. Each time they retrieved supplies, a family of 4 could only barely sustain their lives. This time, their father had been out for 2 days and had not returned. Their mother and brother were already weak, and this time they fainted directly. In a state of fear and confusion, Zhang Xiaoxiao made up her mind to go out and find food. Before that, she hid her mother and brother in a very safe place. This room is the last one she found tonight. If there is no food left, she will have to go back. If she comes out for too long, her mother and younger brother will wake up and not see her, which will make her very worried. Reality is cruel, but it is also expected. Apart from tattered furniture, there is nothing left for her, and heaven has not given her any vitality. She searched the entire room, not even the rotten vegetable leaves were left behind, and could only drag her exhausted and hungry body out. Suddenly, she heard a rustling sound, like the sound of a phone signal stuttering in her memory. She hesitated and stopped, then disappeared. As soon as she stepped up, the sound reappeared. This time, she made sure she didn't hear it wrong and followed the sound source to find it. In the past 2 years of the apocalypse, mobile phones have long been unusable and there is no electricity. How could there be a phone signal? She was afraid, but with a hint of anticipation, she followed the voice to search. If her phone could really contact outsiders, she might find the vitality of her family. This time, she was very lucky. She really found a full-screen phone under the overturned sofa. There was a crack in the middle of the phone screen, but it didn't affect the phone's functions. At this moment, it was on, so you could see the situation on the screen. Someone was sending a video connection, and the red and green arrows on the screen were shining. She hesitated for a moment and pressed the green answer button. Unexpectedly, it was really connected. There was only a snow-white area on that end, but she could hear noisy sounds. There seemed to be many people there, very lively. End of this chapter. Chapter 7. Transactions. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 7 Transactions. Hello. Is anyone there? Talking. I didn't mean to answer the video. I'm just a stranger who came to find something to eat. There's nothing here, just this phone. I might not be able to have your friend answer the video. Hello. Did you hear me? Yuan Xuan couldn't help but furrow his brows, listening to the chatter on the other side. Is the end world on the other side? Can the system travel through time and space? Is it possible that she will come back one day? Thinking of this possibility, Yuan Xuan's whole body is not doing well. She doesn't want to commit suicide again at all, it's quite painful. System, why do you have to make deals with people from the end of the world? What are you trying to do? Silence, system, I know you heard it, and I have nothing else to do. I just want to know, if I don't complete the task, besides death and electric shock, is there any other punishment? Death is more acceptable than returning to the end of the world. Okay, she admits that she's really scared of being tormented by the end of the world, so scared that she doesn't even want to be a human anymore, no. This time, the system finally answered, please complete the transaction immediately and deduct 10 gold coins beyond the repayment time. 10 gold coins. What does it mean? Damn it, the game rules are not clear yet, so we need to deduct money first. The system, that bullshit explanation on the screen, is useless. I don't understand how to operate the trading platform. Do you still want to collect money? As a debtor, I still don't know how much money should be repaid to you so far. Don't think there's a problem. Don't just report the number randomly and make me a scapegoat. System. Not long after the silence, Yuan Xuan saw that the screen had changed, with lines of bold text sliding and appearing. This system is a level trading system, with the main trading level being the end-of-day level. Traders are not fixed. The exchange obtained through transactions is purchased by the mall in exchange for the amount of coins required to maintain the host's health. The host can exchange currency for equivalent products in the mall. The last sentence is like putting what is the standard for valuation? You are a system, you can give me a random price. If you give too much, I don't even know. If you give too much, I will lose a lot. Who will I cry with then? You have the whole thing to say. You say that children and the elderly are fair, at least you need to give me a detailed valuation list. Both parties know the price code, this is called an equal transaction. Estimated by the system, give me a detailed list of estimated prices. Estimated by the system, give me a detailed list of estimated prices. Estimated by the system, guess your mother. Who's so bad-tempered? Host insults the system, electric shock. Zizi, the feeling of the soul body being electrified made Yuan Xuan tremble uncontrollably, guess your mother. People who know Yuan Xuan don't know that although this girl is usually gentle like what she looks like, she has a speechless and silly energy in what she believes. In simple terms, she is stubborn and cannot be saved. Kill me, don't hesitate. Only when she feels justified and needs to earn a high or low salary. Zizi, estimate your mother. Zizi system repeated for half an hour. A certain girl is stubborn like a stone in the toilet, smelly and hard. There is still a trend of continuing to harden. If the system has a face, then it must be constipated. What else can the host do without even using an electric shock? Yuan Zhuan successfully saw an exchange table on the screen, which clearly marked the prices of various types of exchange items. It was 3 pages long and clear. It would have been better if it had been this way earlier. Let's curse, Yuan Zhuan snorted. Damn it, it hurts. Print it out for me, I'll carry it with me. So as not to forget, this thief won't keep his promise. System. You're amazing. You won. 3 pages of paper, 10 gold coins. You're master. You take advantage of the system to rob. Accidentally, I added another debt. In the bottom left corner, there are several columns for redemption criteria. The lowest unit, copper coins, 10 copper coins equals 1 silver coin, 10 silver coins equals 1 gold coin, 10 gold coins equals 1 diamond coin, Hueli Maru, 10 gold coins. Please ask the host to repay the loan as soon as possible. The repayment time is 9.5 hours. Yuan Zhuan vomited blood. 3 pages of special paper are equivalent to a resilience pill. It's a big loss. Dog system is not a good thing. Zizi. After being enchanted, Yuan Zhuan finally began to trade seriously. What do you want? Upon hearing the voice from the other side, Zhang Xiaoxiao was taken aback. What does this mean? Are you joking? Can you help our family go to the central city? Even if it's just a joke, she won't see it as a joke. She has nothing to lose. Even if it's just a joke, she sees it as an opportunity to survive. Zhang Xiaoxiao treated the person across from him as a driftwood when drowning, or the last glimmer of hope before despair. She and her family may starve to death one day in the future, or die in the mouth of a zombie or under the violence of others. How could they care about a joke? The other party disagrees, as expected, agrees, that is the latter seems even less likely. No, the other party did not hesitate. Sure enough, Zhang Xiaoxiao was not surprised by such an answer at all. Her pupils were dull and silent, originally just a fantasy. You can exchange your belongings with me for food or anything else. Zhang Xiaoxiao was stunned. Did she hear it wrong? Property. Is it the currency she wants? Subconsciously, she replied, how much is it? In her distant memory, she often asked vendors such questions. Today, such a problem appears in the apocalypse, which is a bit strange. The most worthless thing in the apocalypse is paper money. The trading currency of the central city is crystal core, a type of stone that needs to be mined. The residents of the central city can exchange labor for crystal core to survive. Platinum, gold, diamonds are all fine. I will estimate the amount of food or other items I should exchange for you based on the wealth in your hands. Zhang Xiaoxiao shook his body, his fingers tightly gripping the flesh of his thighs. He gritted his teeth in pain, but he was so happy that he wanted to scream wildly. Are you telling the truth? If there is food, there is food. Woo woo woo. Yuan Zhuan. A girl who loves to cry, tisk, if you cry again, will cancel the transaction. The noise made her head ache. No. I don't, hiccup. I won't cry anymore. Zhang Xiaoxiao screamed when she heard that it was going to be cancelled. Yuan Zhuan. Hiss. Really sharp. Where do we trade? Can anything be traded? Do you have medicine? Do you have weapons? Go find the property, I will call back. Yes. The phone hung up, and Zhang Xiaoxiao stood still for a while, still a bit stunned. Could it be a scam? But she doesn't have anything to deceive either. After hesitating for a while, he put his phone close to his body and repeatedly confirmed that he wouldn't lose it. He then covered his rapidly beating heart and strode back. She wants to tell her mother, brother, and father about it. They will definitely be happy. Thinking of the happy smiling faces of his family, Zhang Xiaoxiao's footsteps became even more agile. A small, windproof bungalow of over 20 square meters was the shelter of their family. The originally damaged windows were sealed with oilpaper cloth they found, which was very windproof, warm and cozy. She and her mother tidied up the room very clean, except for the appliances. They had all the necessary furniture. Only one thing is very inconvenient: there is no water. Chapter 8. Wake Up. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 8. Wake Up. Living with hope, walking on the desolate streets, feeling good. So good that I want to sing. The area where their family is located is a forgotten area, and it is estimated that there are not more than one hand of residents in the entire area, so it is very difficult for them to find food. This is also why my father takes several days every time he goes out, and he will walk far and far. This was originally an industrial park, built with bungalows. Due to local policies, manufacturers of the same type were forced to be grouped together, mainly for fabric, clothing, and toy processing. The people living here are all workers, and their consumption ability is low. There are no large comprehensive supermarkets in the entire region, only small people's living supermarkets. The materials needed by the factory are purchased from neighboring areas by the leaders of the factory. Moreover, there is a large population here, and most of the service workers are family members. The population density is very high. Therefore, when the end of the world comes, the spread of zombie viruses is increasing explosively. In addition, the local early concealment is not enough. In the later stages, an uncontrollable outbreak quickly wiped out the city. It can be imagined that after the outbreak of the zombie virus, it is too difficult to survive in this area. Except for the dead, most of the surviving people have fled. As for the few households left behind, they are all foreign refugees, and each household is on guard against each other. Naturally, the living space is also separated by 108,000 miles. Their family is not a local indigenous people. When they first fled and plunged in, they found that there were no zombies here. Occasionally, a few could be killed if they bumped in, and the danger level was very low. So they decided to stay. As soon as she arrived at the door, she heard cries coming from almost half a mile in the bungalow area, where only her family lived. She wanted to know where the crying came from, but Zhang Xiaoxiao was startled and ran away with her legs raised. Thinking of her father who had been out for several days without returning, and the crying, she felt a chill in her heart. Don't be what she thinks. Opening the wooden door, I saw my mother and younger brother lying by the bed crying uncontrollably. The familiar person on the bed closed their eyes, with dirty and blood-stained faces. The area near the temples on their forehead was covered in blood and flesh, and it was unclear whether they were alive or dead. "Mom, what's wrong with Dad?" Seeing this scene that could be described as tragic, Zhang Xiaoxiao's legs softened and she swallowed a mouthful of saliva, pressing down on the burning pain in her throat. She didn't even have the courage to approach. I can't imagine how long the mother and son can live in this already difficult apocalypse without their father's protection. Just dealing with teams who occasionally get lost and search for supplies here, let them despair. Fu Min turned her head and saw her daughter, feeling even more bitter in her heart. Her waxen face turned white and she said, "Xiaoxiao, come here, don't be afraid. Dad is okay. I have never been so grateful that I am a traditional Chinese medicine practitioner. Even if I have no medicine in my hand, I can do some simple bandages for my husband to prevent bone docking and displacement in the later stage." After the examination, she could confirm that he had some lung contusions, but not severe. The most serious ones were fractures of his right leg and left hand. This situation meant that even if God blessed him with no other complications and he needed to rest for a year, their family's current condition was that they didn't even have enough food to eat, let alone the injured husband who needed to repair his body's nutrition. Upon hearing that his father would not die, Zhang Xiaoxiao breathed a sigh of relief and quickly stepped forward to sit by the bed. "Your father needs antibiotics, and your mother needs to go out." Fu Min finally made a decision. This family cannot continue like this. If they don't think of ways to adapt, they may die soon. Anti-inflammatory drugs, antibiotics. When Zhang Xiaoxiao heard that Fu Min was going out, she became anxious. Her mother was just a traditional Chinese medicine practitioner and was gentle in her work. If she encountered anything while going out, she might never come back again. In a hurry, Zhang Xiaoxiao didn't care about the idea of giving it a try first and spoke about what had happened between him and Yuan Zhuan. The other party only said they wanted valuable things like gold bars and didn't say they wouldn't let her tell others, so she felt it was okay to tell her family. Fu Min was taken aback by her daughter's words, took the phone she handed over, and pressed it. The unresponsive scream made Fu Min's heart sink. "We're out of battery." Ah! How could there be no electricity? Zhang Xiaoxiao panicked and took it over to play with. Sure enough, there was no electricity left. There is a kind of despair called getting and then losing even if you wanted to suppress it. Zhang Xiaoxiao couldn't help but shed tears on his face. "Sister, don't cry." Zhang Chao approached his sister and mother, comforting them softly. Although he is only 8 years old, how could a child who has experienced the end of the world have a psychological age of only 8 years old? The 21st century. In the system space, Yuan Zhuan's soul felt her body being fed, warm and entering her cold stomach, making her feel comfortable and want to sigh. "Mom, how long will it take for sister to wake up?" Yuan Zhu stared at Zhao Yuxiang and fed her milk, quietly swallowing his saliva, and asked in a hopeful voice. Even if he is still very young, he understands that his sister seems to have slept for too long, which is not normal. Seeing her daughter swallowing heavily, Zhao Yuxiang breathed a sigh of relief and said, "Soon, sister is just too tired. Be good, go get a glass of water and drink it yourself. Piggy doesn't drink, give it to sister. Sister's health is poor, make up for it." A pair of round, shiny and obedient red phoenix eyes were opened by Yuan Zhu, which made people feel heartbroken. Zhao Yuxiang's sensible son made her nose sour, but her heart was warm. It was because she was too foolish to let her son and daughter live such a difficult life with her. "Go ahead, Mom bought 2 cans, enough for you to drink for a long time, be good." With red eyes, Zhao Yuxiang released a hand to silently smile at her son's small flat head. This time, Yuan Zhu did not refuse again. No matter how sensible he was just a child. The little one happily ran away holding the cup. Young Ailan, who watched the interaction between mother and son throughout, smiled and said, "Sister, your son is so sensible that he would even feel sorry for his sister." Suyu also smiled and nodded in agreement. She saw that the outer packaging of the milk powder purchased by this aunt was not ordinary, it was a foreign product. It was only available at the special counter at the train station. There were over 100 cans, and 2 cans were almost 300. Her aunt's baby is now 3 years old and has been drinking this type of milk powder, so she knows the price. In this era, 300 is equivalent to 1 month's expenditure for a family, and this aunt is really willing for her children. Yes, he's very well behaved. Speaking of her child, the tears in Zhao Yuxiang's eyes faded, replaced by joy and comfort. Another night passed, and Yuan Zhuan opened his eyes in the hazy dawn. The person in her arms was moving, and Zhao Yuxiang was the first to wake up. Seal script, you finally woke up. Seeing her daughter's good spirit, Zhao Yuxiang wanted to cry again. "Mom, don't cry, I'm fine." As tears were about to flow, Yuan Zhuan quickly spoke up to comfort him. He sat up from Zhao Yuxiang's arms, got up, and walked down the aisle to move his stiff limbs. Young Ailan's mother and daughter also woke up when they heard the commotion. "Hey, little girl, you're awake. You've been sleeping for a long time this time, and you've scared your mother," young Ailan said with a smile. "Auntie," Yuan Zhuan said politely. She was aware of the situation outside, and the enthusiastic help of the doctor aunt dissuaded Zhao Yuxiang from getting off the car halfway to take her to the hospital due to panic. She also didn't get off the train, and how many stops are there in her calculated best survival city? Sister. The sound of a milkshake rang out, and Yuan Zhuan had an extra pendant on his leg. Wake up. Yuan Zhuan touched the little guy's head and smiled. Sister, you've been sleeping for a long time, and the little pig is so anxious. The little one pouted unhappily. Oh my sister is just a little too sleepy. It's not intentional. How about a pig not being angry with my sister? She crouched down and hugged her brother's thin and small body. The protruding spine and ribs at her fingertips made her feel uncomfortable. Are these bones too protruding? Don't be angry, piggy-like sister, don't be angry. The little guy shook his head into a tambourine, which made the adults and Yuan Zhuan laugh. Pig, go get some water and drink milk powder with your sister. Okay. End of this chapter. Chapter 9. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 9 Apocalypse. Even though her hopes were shattered, Zhang Xiaoxiao still couldn't bear to throw away her phone and found the gold necklace hidden in the room. It may have belonged to the original homeowner and was hidden in the cabinet. Her mother found it during cleaning, about 200 grams, and she played with it. She didn't wear it and kept it under her pillow. Midnight is quiet. Zhang Xiaoxiao suddenly felt some vibration under the pillow, and was startled, with sweat and hair all over her body standing up. Opening my eyes, it was pitch black in front of me. Under the pillow, the vibration continues. Wait. This movement. Suddenly taking out her phone from under her pillow, sure enough, the faint green light at night was somewhat frightening, but the familiar image was like ice water in the dog days, making her tremble all over. Shaking her hands and pressing the answer button, she didn't have time to think about why her phone suddenly ran out of battery. Hello. The other end was still snow-white. Is that you? Have you found the gold? Yuan Zhuan saw the pitch-black one across from him, probably at night. Wait a moment, I'll talk to you when I go out. Zhang Xiaoxiao grabbed the chain from his head and left. The camera suddenly lit up, and Yuan Zhuan's eyebrows jumped. Is it daytime over there? It turned out that it was only indoors earlier that it was so dark. There is no day or night in the apocalypse, we were just sleeping. After answering, Zhang Xiaoxiao realized later that something was wrong. Isn't that the apocalypse on your end? Thinking of this possibility, Zhang Xiaoxiao's heartbeat became irregular. Her gaze shifted downwards and she looked at the phone flashing with dim light. She remembered that it was clearly a dead battery before this can't be a supernatural world, can it? Zhang Xiaoxiao. We are not on the same plane, I have just entered the 21st century. Ah. Pai Li Pa. After a commotion across the street, Zhang Xiaoxiao's frightened face reappeared. Are you really from the 21st century? How could that be? Is this too magical? Is that actually a peaceful era over there? Oh my god. Your phone is a surface trading platform, I am responsible for supplying you, you are responsible for paying, and of course, you can also use the goods I need to exchange for what you want. Yuan Zhuan didn't want to talk nonsense, but went straight to the point. She couldn't squat in the toilet for too long, otherwise outsiders would be anxious. Listen carefully to me, I don't have much time. Now, squeezing some blood on your phone can make the platform hide in your body. In the future, you will be the only trader in your surface and cannot change ownership. Zhang Xiaoxiao suppressed the frenzy of excitement and followed his words. Sure enough, the phone really disappeared. In front of her, a palm-sized screen appeared, which was the screen from the video just now, but there were no signs of damage on it. Ha! Taking a deep breath, Zhang Xiaoxiao pinched himself hard. It hurt. It really hurts. The excitement that followed made her want to dance. What do you want to change for? Food and water. Blurted out what he wanted, and medicine. My dad has a bone fracture and a lung contusion, he needs medicine. I want gold bars. Gold bars can be exchanged for coins, there's no problem. In the apocalypse, These things are useless, it only takes time and energy to get them. Gold bars, that. I don't have any gold bars right now. Can I have a gold necklace weighing over 200 grams? Just over 200 grams. Yuan Xuan did not immediately answer. System, how can a gold necklace be exchanged for gold coins? According to purity calculation, 100%, 100 grams are exchanged for 1 gold coin. Yuan Xuan Qi. How can we repay the debt? What year and month will it be? A gold necklace, if you think about it, you know it won't be 100% pure. Even if it is, it's just 2 gold coins. Hang the necklace on the screen. Oh. System detection in progress, please wait, 90% purity, exchange value, 1 gold coin, 5 copper coins. Does the host agree to exchange them? Wait a moment, I'll talk to her about the price. What's your name? Zhang Xiaoxiao. Your necklace's purity is too low, and the purchase price from my end may not be too high. Do you have any bottom line in mind? You can set the price, it's easy for me to say. Zhang Xiaoxiao quickly raised his watch sincerely, afraid that the other party would disagree. In the apocalyptic world, gold necklaces and bars are used for smashing and playing with, and you can't even exchange them for a clump of grass and wood. A total of 232 grams, with a purity of 90%, let me exchange 20 corn mantu for you. Do you have a bucket of water? Have excitedly taking a detour behind the house to find the plastic bucket, Zhang Xiaoxiao narrowed her eyes with a smile. 20 corn mantu. It's enough for their family to live for several days. Dad can also make up for it. When her father wakes up, she will go find the gold bar and exchange it for. Gulu Suk and Yuan Xuan exchanged corn mantu with an old lady in the back of the car. They were very cheap. She had a lot of 10 cents in her pocket, which was enough. System, how can I send it over? Received in the warehouse. Touch the plastic bag containing mantu and silently say, close. The small grid of the warehouse reveals the picture of mantu. Hiss. It will be too convenient for her to buy things in the future. Yuan Xuan felt for the first time that the system was a good thing. A line of text is displayed on the screen, send all, yes, no. Click yes on the ground at the other end of the screen. A bag of yellow mantu nearly blinded Zhang Xiaoxiao's eyes. Ah! On the mantu mountain, Zhang Xiaoxiao sighed with satisfaction at the familiar touch of long absence. System, how do we provide water? Silence Yuan Xuan. My gaze is fixed on the sink. The bucket in front of Zhang Xiaoxiao quickly filled up, almost overflowing, and his smiling eyes became 2 narrow slits seeing the pitiful balance of 1 gold coin and 5 copper coins displayed on the system screen. Yuan Xuan felt a sense of urgency in owing debts. If you want medicine, find a gold bar weighing up to 2 pounds or other tradable items within 3 hours. What is a tradable item? Upon hearing the words, medicine, Zhang Xiaoxiao quickly stood up, nervously propping her ears. Before the end of the world, things that needed to be purchased with money were called tradable items. Is cloth and clothes okay? There are also children's toys. Zhang Xiaoxiao was a little nervous. Sure. Jewelry can be found, but not necessarily, and gold bars are unlikely to appear in this industrial area. The transaction needs to be completed while preserving the entire family. She only thinks of the most overstocked goods in the industrial park. Upon hearing the other party's agreement, Zhang Xiaoxiao immediately felt that life was full of longing. With so many warehouses, their family won't need to go out to search for food for a long time in the future, and they can still take care of their father's health. Suddenly, Zhang Xiaoxiao cried, "Thank you, sister." Yuan Xuan. Okay, her soul is indeed quite large. Goodbye. Goodbye, sister. End of this chapter. Chapter 10. Don't go to Wensheng Road. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 10. Don't go to Wensheng Road, Xiaoxiao. Fu Min looked at her daughter and the pile of food she was holding in her arms with suspicion. Her pupils were wide open, and she suspected that she might have been starving and had a problem with dizziness. "Mom, you should take the things in first. Run to her and put Mantu in her arms. Zhang Xiaoxiao goes back to carry water. She moves quickly. Although this area is safe at present, it is not absolute. Besides zombies, outsiders often attack." The cold and wet physical touch made Fu Min tremble and suddenly recalled himself. He rushed back to the house with Mantu in his arms at the same speed as the zombies chasing after him. The whole family stood at attention beside Dad's bed, couldn't control their eyes, stared at the yellow Mantu at the end of the bed, and swallowed again and again. Zhang Xiaoxiao was the first to react and humorously went to find the hot water kettle to pour water for his mother and brother. The hot water in the pot is burned by firewood, but fortunately her father smokes because he often throws lighters, so the lighters in the house are often wholesale in a large box. Therefore, even in the apocalypse, they don't worry about the source of fire. As for the firewood, it can't be used up, after all, in an empty house, wooden furniture is the least lacking. If someone told Zhang Xiaoxiao that even a mouthful of Mantu could make her feel good, she would definitely believe that the other person was out of his mind. Now. Her brain is really fine, but she really eats comfortably. The feeling of having something in the stomach is really refreshing. The slightly hot tea mixed with Mantu feels good when it enters the esophagus. Wiped the corners of my eyes, one hand moist. Mantu are delicious and want to cry. Modern plain boundary. Due to the existence of debt, Yuan Zhuan prepared to get off the train early. After sitting for more than 2 hours, when young Ailan and her daughter got up to get off the car with their luggage, Xiaoxiao and her son also stood up. "Ha! Are you also getting off the car?" Young Ailan's surprise was overwhelming. "I don't know why the mother and son suddenly prepared to get off halfway. Didn't they say they were going to Jibei?" "Young Jie, let's go to our relative's house first. We've brought something from home, and we'll have to transfer to a train." Xiaoxiao didn't expect it either. Suddenly, her daughter changed her mind and changed her destination, colliding with young Ailan and her daughter in the same place. Unexpectedly, Xiaoxiao didn't think much about it. The two families got off together, chatting and laughing. There were many people picking up outside the station, and Yuan Zhuan was surprised to see the private car and a man with a driver's appearance welcoming him. He respectfully took young Ailan's mother and daughter's hand and saluted them. In the early 2000s, it's not difficult to imagine having a Sanin, or the latest model, from a family background. Ask her how a future person knows if a car from 2002 is the latest model. Well, she can only say that it originated from a small hobby. She even knows when, what it looked like, and the design of the first Sanin car produced by the country. Not every brand is clear to her. After all, in the era before the end of the world, there were countless car brands, and even if she had 10 heads, she couldn't remember them in such detail. The reason why she knew about the Sanin car from this era was also due to her deceased family. They really liked to drive cars of this brand. This old brand of car has always been the top domestic brand in terms of safety performance, and its sales volume is high in China. Not to mention, it is also exported to many places abroad, which once caused headaches for foreign brands who wanted to seize the market. "Girl, where are you going? Get in the car and have the driver take you there." Young Ailan has always been a kind and enthusiastic person. "Young Jie, thank you. The place we are going to is only a few hundred meters away from the station. It's not far, so I won't trouble you." Xiaoxiao didn't hesitate to tell a lie, which surprised Yuan Zhuan and raised his eyebrows. It seems that neither her cheap mother nor her cheap brother are the foolish roe deer she initially thought she was. Young Ailan frowned, seeming to suspect that Xiaoxiao was too polite. "Really? Sister, don't be polite to Yang. Yang really thinks it's too hard for you to take care of 2 children alone, so she thought about you going on a long journey. You're not familiar with the place. I'm a local and familiar with the surroundings here. Maybe I can help you. It can be seen that young Ailan really wants to help the mother and son, three of them. Yuan Zhuan pulled Yuan Zhu aside and watched as the newly appointed sisters came and went, feeling warm and affectionate. Those who didn't know thought they were friends for many years, so they were so close and reluctant to part ways. His gaze fell on Su Yu, who was somewhat amused, and Yuan Zhuan curled his lips. Sometimes, having more good karma may save one's life. It can be seen from this that goodness is so important. I was not originally planning to meddle in my own business, but now it seems that I can't ignore it. Su Yu saw that her mother and the Zhao aunt she met on the train were still on the trend of continuing to chat, and was ready to remind her mother that her father was about to leave work, and if he didn't get home, there wouldn't be enough time to prepare meals. Just as I was about to take a step up, I felt a tug at the corner of my clothes. I turned around and met a pair of shiny black round cat eyes. Sister, don't take Wensheng Road, that's not where you should go. After speaking, Yuan Zhuan led his younger brother back to Xiaoxiao's side. Mom, it's getting late. It's almost 6 o'clock, and it's getting dark soon. They need to find a hotel, so we can't delay. Finally, young Ailan, who couldn't get along well, left a phone number for Xiaoxiao, repeatedly reminding her to remember to contact her when leaving. Then, she took Su Yu, who was thoughtful, into the car and left. After walking a long way, young Ailan will still extend her hand and wave goodbye. Yuan Zhuan was somewhat speechless about the strange affinity between the two women. Mom, do you really like Aunt Zhao? Su Yu asked in the car, feeling puzzled. It was the first time she had seen a mother who didn't like to socialize talk so much, or with a stranger she had just met. The strange words spoken by the skinny girl flashed through her mind. Is it difficult for their family to frequently come to Beiyou? So you know Wensheng Road. But how did she know they were going on the Wensheng Road? They also said that it's not the place they should go. Strange words, strange eyes. Young Ailan smiled when she heard her daughter mention her little sister she had just met. I feel congenial. Sometimes there is a strange magnetic field between people. Some stick to each other, and some repel each other. I can't explain clearly. I like Yu Xiang very much. Su Yu jokingly teased his mother a few times. For that strange little girl's strange words, even if full of doubts, Su Yu didn't take them too seriously. After all, she was just a child, so she should have pretended to be mysterious and said it to tease her. Once again, when they go home, they must pass through Wensheng Road. If they take a detour, they won't be able to cook for their dad in time at night. At that time, Mom will have to feel sorry for her dad and turn on the small stove. What makes her frustrated is that the small stove that Dad loves to eat is very smelly. That dish contains durian. Even imagining it, she couldn't bear it. Normally, as long as she and her brother are at home, my mother won't cook that dish. No matter how wrong my father is, he has to endure it, except when he cries and becomes a playwright. Thinking of Su Yu's old father who loves to grab his mother's attention like a playwright at home, Su Yu is speechless. No wonder his brother always says that the two of them are redundant at home. There is still a long way to go from home at the train station, and it takes over an hour to drive. Su Yudo, who had not rested much, tilted his head and fell asleep leaning against the leather backrest. According to the calculated direction, Yuan Zhuan found a very clean hotel. The landlady was a very practical middle-aged woman, probably because they were dressed too plainly, with two skinny children, and even offered a discount. She charged 15 yuan for a large room. Normal price range of 30, in the king-sized room, there are exactly 3 single beds, which is enough for the 3 of them to live in. After paying a deposit of 100 yuan, I went upstairs and pushed open the door. The mother and son rushed in with a chuckle, each dominating their own territory. They rolled off a few times and snorted comfortably. Looking at the joyful faces of the 2 children, Xiaoxiao had never been happier and her eyes were sparkling. Her child should be laughing like this. Yuan Zhuan, who couldn't bear the dirtiness of his body at first, took a short rest and entered the bathroom with a change of clothes. Sure enough, clean squatting toilets and semi-new water heaters, as she thought, the environment was really awesome. On the wash basin made of ceramic tiles, in the mirror, the yellow skinny little girl grinned and revealed her white teeth. Yuan Xuan, hello. After introducing himself nervously, Yuan Xuan smiled foolishly. Wash up.